Hi, everyone. My name is Patrick. I head up global sales for a company called IQzone. We have offices in the US and here in EMEA, but only have about 10 minutes. We're going to run through the presentation on some how-tos as far as making money in your apps. But if you have any questions after, since I'm going to skim through about 7 or 8 slides, just find me after, or I'm going to post the presentation on our blog after, along with an article that we did with Develop magazine that dives into some of these concepts a little more. So there's 3 primary ways to make money as a mobile game developer, right? Freemium, incentivized, and display advertising. Obviously, there's certain companies that have made a huge amount of money, billions and billions of dollars, such as King and Supercell, doing freemium. The key takeaway here is that as a smart app developer, you should segment out your users and do all 3 types of advertising or monetization for your users, right? There are plenty of tools out there that can tell you what guys are spending money on incentivized, what guys are spending money on freemium, and then primarily the 90% of users who are not doing in-app purchase or incentivized, and thus how to make money off of them on advertising. So the majority of my time is going to be talking about advertising, since unfortunately I think a lot of game developers don't look at that enough, but it can be a significant revenue channel for you, and probably something that a lot of you guys know the most about. So there's 3 types of ad units that you can primarily do, right? Banner, interstitial, and video. And there's pros and cons to all of them. So obviously banners have been around for the longest time. You can get the most fill, but it's not the best user experience. Depending on how you built your game, it might be a really bad user experience of trying to overlay it. And the eCPMs are low. Interstitials have really grown over the last couple of years. As you know, companies like Charboost have done a great job of bringing those into the marketplace for game developers. Again, much higher eCPMs than traditional banners, but some of the cons are clearly if you have a high click-through rate, you're sending your users out of the game to someone else's game, et cetera. And if you're not really thinking about the timing or the placement, it's not the best user experience. And then video has really made a strong, I would say, gain over the last year. Some really good companies doing some really good incentivized video, plain video. Some of the considerations on video is the user experience. Are you doing a lot of videos? Are you forcing them to watch the videos? If you're doing that 2 or 3 times per app session, you might be ruining the user experience. But much higher eCPMs, and if you segment out your users in the right way, then that might be fine, because you need to make some kind of ROI on those users, especially if you did a lot of paid user acquisition. The cons with video is obviously there's just not a huge amount of supply there. So you need to be doing a mix of all of these to some extent if you're really going to optimize the ROI of your individual users. Native is something that everyone talks about a lot. What native really means are 2 things. One, it's maybe built into the flow or the stream of the game. It's not something that stands out on its own. Again, Charboost has done a good job of allowing you skin those apps, et cetera, whether it's a video, whether it's a banner, whether it's a full screen interstitial. But native really goes across the entire spectrum of display advertising. It's simply a much more effective, I would say, much better user experience than traditional banners or interstitials, et cetera. One of the main pieces of advice that I tell mobile developers when they're thinking about monetization on the advertising side is pick a really good sell-side platform. Bursely used to be really good for game developers. Unfortunately, they got bought by Apple, and they're not here anymore. But there's a lot of good sell-side platforms out there that will help you optimize all your ad partners on a country-by-country basis. And that's what you really want to do. You want to pick 3 to 6 demand partners that you optimize on a country-by-country basis, and then you bring in the right ad formats at the right time, and that's how you are going to make a lot of money, not just on in-app purchase or incentivized, but on traditional display ad units. As far as best practices and what I recommend to app developers, there's 4 primary things to think about. One is something we just talked about is formats, right? So you should test all different types of formats: banners, interstitials, video. The key thing there is making sure you're working with good ad partners. You're putting in floor CPMs. You're making sure you're filtering out a lot of the garbage ads that are out there. The other thing is that each app is different. Right, so you might have 5 apps, 10 apps in your overall portfolio, But each app is designed differently, right? Some apps are going to design that are going to be able to take banners a little more. Some apps are casual games where you have a lot of levels, so that if you do an interstitial one every 3 times, it's going to be a much better user experience. If you're a mid-core game or a hardcore game, right, doing a full screen ad, except maybe at the end is going to, or at the beginning, is the only time you can really do one of those things. But you should test each individual app. Don't think just because this app does well with interstitials or this app does well with banners, right, or video, that they're all going to, I would say, perform the same way. The key thing is testing, more testing, and then also segmenting out your users and optimizing on each individual segment. And then I think the last thing is timing. So to me, timing is one of the key things that a lot of app developers don't think about. And so I'm a little biased here, but I think doing ads in the beginning, once someone comes into an app, is a really bad user experience. For me, when I open an app, to me, I have one thing and one thing only. I either want to check the weather or I want to play your game. I don't want to necessarily be pushed off to another game or a brand or Kayak or Expedia or some other app that you're advertising. And then clearly, if you have a high click-through rate, that means the user hasn't been able to enjoy your game at all. During the app session is something that everyone should really try to optimize. Right, again, if you can put banners in there or native banners, et cetera, and it's not ruining the user experience, then I think that's something you should definitely experiment. I think if you have a casual game and you're in a position where you can do an interstitial or video ad once every 4 levels, if you have people spending a lot of time in your app, then that's a great way to put 2 or 3 in, et cetera. And then you can also do ads at the very end of your app session that take advantage of the user kind of changing their mindset and being open to something overall new to them because they're done playing your game. And that's about it. So I want to save a little time for Q&A, but IQzone, again, we're a mobile technology company that allows you as an app developer to work with your existing ad networks and exchanges to do some very cool, unique ad units. One of them is what we call a postitial, which allows you to show a full screen ad on Android phones when the user's ending their app session, which we think is a really great way to allow them to come and enjoy your game and at the very end say, hey, this game was brought to you by Spotify or Supercell. But if you want any more information about that, check out our blog. The deck will be up here, and we also did, like I said, an article with Develop Magazine, and you can read more in depth about some of the topics. Just don't have enough time to dive into it. Yep, yeah, no problem.
So, that's good. That was really good. That was really informative. A lot of info packed into. That's perfect, actually. In fact, you today have nailed it more than anyone else in terms of getting really short. Congratulations. So, is there any questions there about? There's quite a lot shared about the what and the wherefore. Has anybody got any specific questions about particular? It's after dinner. It's after lunch. People are flagging a little bit, but fair enough.
No problem.
I guess maybe I'll kind of throw one out there. I was watching some of it. I was catching the time, but one of the things I think is an issue is the when. I guess you talked about it a little bit, but
right.
The concern is obviously that if you're what everybody's talking about now is how expensive it is to acquire users and looking after them, retention, and then re-engagement.
Yep.
So surely any kind of advertising which drives them away from that is dangerous.
Well, sure. I think that comes down to the segmenting of your users, right?
Sure.
And there are plenty of tools that says, hey, this 5% of users are really engaged with in-app purchase.
Sure.
Don't show them ads. There's another segment of users that are open to incentivized ads, offer walls, et cetera, and don't show them ads or don't try to show them in-app purchase or coins, just do incentivized ads. But for most developers, there's still going to be that 90% of users that you need to make money off of. And if you do it in a smart way, mixing in some cross-promotion, mixing in some social sharing, hey, tweet, sure. Facebook, et cetera, that's, I actually think, a great way to bring up the ROI in the average user.
Sure.
Right, it's not going to be high as in-app purchase, but if you're doing full screen interstitials, you're doing videos, et cetera, and as long as you're doing it in a smart way, you're respecting that user flow,
sure.
There's no reason that can't add another 20, 30% to your average revenue per user. Okay. And to be honest, if you lose someone because you show ads, you show 1 or 2 full screen ads, then to be honest, they're never going to make you any money anyways. You didn't really lose anything.
Sure.
And I also think that in the gaming industry, we forget that people are used to ads. They really are. You see ads in TV, you see ads in radio, you see ads on your weather app, your chatting app, whatever. The idea that as a gamer we can't put ads in at all, as long as you do it in a smart way, there's no reason why this is any different than any other type of entertainment vertical.
Fair enough. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks again.